and should be live now. There we go. Forge Gang! I'm still a hard man! Let's go! So I am Imperator of ForgeWarHammer. I am still very much a hard man. And I am going to do a ForgeWarHammer Let's Play. And this time, I am going all the way back to the 1970s, to the very beginning of retro gaming. And I'm going to do Generation 1 console games. I am going to try to play the hardest and the most difficult possible console games of Generation 1. This is as far back as it gets, people. So, this is called the Magnavox Odyssey. It came out in 1972. This is the first home computer video gaming entertainment system. This is as far back as you can go. The Magnavox came out in 1972. It is very old. It's over half a century old. It's amazing that something like this came out over 50 years ago. Over half a century ago. 1972. I thought it came out in 1974. So, I'm doing Generation 1 this time. So I already tried to load this up. Most of all that it is just Pong. A lot of Pong games and a lot of not very creative stuff, at least not by our standards, but you know, 1974, it's mainly sci-fi, retroid, there we go. For a short introduction for new users, type intro. For supported shell commands, type help. Third for the second says, hello, my good sir. Yeah, I'm trying to find the hardest and difficult games of Generation 1 to play. Just for the fun of it. Basically, see what happens if I do this. I guess this is how you start the program with shell. I don't know. It just says illegal command. Okay. Drive C mount. Okay, try woke. Nothing. Alright, I'll try a Pong game. There were so many Pong knockoffs. Pong was good for the time in 1973. Okay, there we go. Start. Okay, there we go. This is Pong. This is the first game. Whoops. Looks like the other player got a score. Not off to a good start. And by the way, when Pong first came out, there wasn't a CPU that could also be the second player. So either you'd play against yourself or there would be two players. Okay, it looks like the computer might have won. So this is a lot like tennis or softball, and so this is Pong. And no, there's no sound. All right. So this is basically kind of what Pong would have looked like. There's no color, there's no sound. And originally, you'd either just have to play by yourself or with another player, and you'd have to keep your own score. This wasn't there. There was no CPU to play against. So anyways, this is Pong. First generation console game. Whoops. And there's no sound or nothing. CPUs has a chip did not really exist until the late 70s. Let's see here. The first generation consoles were interesting for the time. Yeah, you could probably find some old advertisements in old magazines from the period that advertised Pong, for example. So this is Pong. There's arcade and there's wire. There was arcade, handheld. Yes, they had handheld games in the 1970s. Before Nintendo released the click and watch or play and watch games. As you can see, I'm not getting any points or scoring anything, but that's what this is about. I'll try to play this as much as I can. But anyways, this is first generation gaming. I don't even know if it was called console gaming. Oh, darn, it's fast. I don't have good reflexes like I used to. Anyways, this was extremely popular for its time. Okay, I'm getting a little bit... That's the only point that I scored. That's literally the only point I actually scored. Come on. Alright. So that's Pong. $1965 emulator. Alright, the next one is... It's not Star Wars. Let's see here. Stefan Shorko says, "Sup, Bobby?" Bobby Conley said, "Hi." Justice for Gamers. Let's see here. 1960s video games. That's it. Space War. Space War emulator. Alright, so this one is Space Wars. Okay, the J, L, K, and I keys control the other. The controls are spin one way, spin the other, thrust, and fire. These are the controls, dude. I can't even get it to play. Okay, there's the firing thing. Oh, crap. Oh, you avoid the center. You avoid the center. I went into the black hole at the center. Well, that's it. Nothing much. Justice for every gamer, 34 says. Yeah, Oh, there's the enemy. Dude, it just keeps getting sucked into that black hole in the center. Okay, well that's Space War. Alright, the other one I think is Periscope. Okay, I can't play that. That's third generation. This is first generation games. Magnavox Odyssey. Stefan Shorko says that he wants honey. Oh, come on, dude. Yeah, so this is how it all got started, at least with home console games. There is a lot more arcade stuff. People didn't really stay at home and play console video games. They went out and played at the arcade. Like, a lot of this stuff, people played at the arcade. If you don't know what an arcade is, it's a place where people went to play, like, game, all sorts of stuff. Not just video games. People pooled. They played pool. They threw darts. They would, there was a lot of drinking and stuff. A lot of slot machines and gambling and stuff, and that was kind of the scene in the 1960s and early 70s for these early arcade games that came out. First, there would have been what the hell do you call that? Where you shoot a pinball, like pinball games and stuff, and kind of like different not video games per se, but like different arcade games and whatnot. I'll have to make a folder to extract that. Stuff like that, basically. Justice for every gamer. I don't want to open it, I want to rename it. There we go. Just name that folder. Alright, I got to extract it. Extract all. Eyes are killing me. Go select folder and extract. Justice for every gamer is what 3-4 says. Okay, it says you cannot run this on your PC. So much for that. A lot of sports stuff for this. Here we go. What does that remind you of? If you need a tip, rubbing hands together. There you go. Rubbing hands together. Hi, folks. It's been quite a time since the last post. On the news side, nothing has changed. Still have a crummy computer and it's very slow since it only has 4 gig RAM. My son's computer. How in the hell do I get the Magnavox Odyssey simulator? Super Mario Magnavox Odyssey. Well, how do I fucking download the Magnavox? Let me try online emulator. I would figure I could do this on the archive.org. Oh, here we go. That's it just went blank. Looks like it just crashed on me. I press the escape button, releases the mouse, etc. Just says Magnavox Odyssey emulator. That's it. In brown text. That's it. Nothing. No screen, nothing. I'm going to try full screen. Yeah. Well, that didn't do anything. MS-DOS. Generation 1 consoles. I'm going to take a look here. All right. Oh, by the way, there is a video game crash in 1977. Interactive television. What happened to all the video games from the 1960s? Okay, this is the Magnavox Odyssey, by the way. That's literally it. That's it. There's no scoreboard, there's nothing. Okay. I'm going to try Atari Home Pong. Pong Arcade Atari. All right. Okay, this is it. This is actually what Pong would have looked like in 1972, 1973. It would have looked like this. If I can find the controls. Yeah, there's no way to control it. I'm meshing with the buttons and nothing. Yep. No idea how to use the controls. This is actually what Pong would have looked like in 1973. Okay, I've already played Pong. Atari 800. Okay, here we go. I think I'm going to have it finally. Error in request. Well, shit. And no, I'm not doing the Atari 2600. This is a Generation 2 console. Yeah, there is actually an entire generation before the Atari 2600. I guess you didn't know that, because you didn't pay attention when you learned about it in the history of video gaming and electronic games. Okay, let's see here. Teleco Telstar series. Oh yeah, I'm dunking on Ryan Roger Athey and 3/4's like little so-called history of video games. No offense, but y'all kind of spiraled out with that after part 2. You kind of just randomly talked about Sega and Nintendo's rivalry and stuff, and not really a whole lot there. You know, no offense to nobody, no offense to no one. This is just an online forum. Alright, so this is Teleco Arcade. This is like the first wireless mobile game. Looks like it has different racers and stuff. And I'm trying to find an emulator. Here's what it would have looked like here's what it would have looked like. Picture yourself back in 1978-79.
You're watching the most exciting game you will ever see on your TV set. Telstar by Coleco with 3 different games. Telstar Tennis with digital scoring, variable speeds. Telstar Hockey. Each player controls a goalie plus a forward on the other side. Oops, a goal. And Telstar Singles Handball, a game you play yourself. Telstar Handball, Tennis, Hockey. All 3 at an exciting low price. For great family fun, hit your TV to a Telstar. By Coleco.
Well, here you go. Let's say that you were playing Pong from 1973 to 1976. And then presto, you got this commercial on your television set. Like your wide-ass, freaking weird, overly extended 1970s, like, television set that was made in Japan and was made completely of wood. And it was still like a giant box. Basically like a cardboard box, but made of wood and made in Japan. Let's say you were watching that and you saw Teleco Telstar, and you get to have 3 games instead of 1. Pong, as if you didn't have enough of that. Hockey. And I guess baseball or do-it-yourself thing. I don't know. Let's say it's 1977, 76, or 75, whenever it came out. And you're like saying, wow, aren't you excited to play that? But this is how it started. I mean, this is how video games started, basically. Let's see here. Space Race, 1973. Well, I'm trying to find it. I can't find no emus. There's no emulators for these games. They're so old. There's no emulators.
Knock, knock.
I'm not doing commercials.
Hi
No,
there.
thank you.
I'd love to show you.
No, thank you. I don't do commercials. I'm sick enough as it is with these commercials. Is Pac-Man Generation 1? Let's see here. I don't know if Pac-Man is Gen 1. I think Pac-Man was Generation 2. The thing about Pac-Man is that it's an arcade game. Let me see. Generation 1. Okay. I guess Pac-Man would technically be Generation 1. I'm not for sure. Magnavox Odyssey, my ass. Ass! Magnavox. Interdimensional Lizard, I hope they didn't claim that Sonic was Japanese. Sonic didn't even exist. Sonic did not exist. Yeah, I don't know how to set up docks into emulators or docks into emus. Okay, this is the Magnavox Odyssey 2. Okay, what about the Magnavox Odyssey 2? Okay, it's just... Yeah, no idea what to do here. Oh, here we go. Fizzed.com. Well, this didn't help. Okay, so that's Pac-Man. Alright, this is Turbo. You ready? Oh, darn. Gamers need to rise against our oppressors. Alright, so that's Pac-Man. And Pac-Man back then was not on any kind of a console or home games. It was in the arcade. You would have had to have walked to the arcade to play Pac-Man. Anyways, Magnavox Odyssey. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, it looks like there's no online emulators for the Magnavox. Third for the second says get to gaming revealed. Third for the second says get to gaming revealed. The code execution cannot proceed. Oh, here we go. So this is the Magnavox Odyssey 2. Okay, here it is. Okay, it just says illegal command. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. Okay, it froze up on me. Okay. Magnavox Odyssey. Teleco. Oh, Colico Telstar. All right. Well, there is one more that I could do. Space Invaders 1979 MU. All right. This was actually an arcade game. It was actually not released on any console at the time. So this is arcade. Or this would technically be an arcade. So also the graphics would not be this advanced, neither would the controls. It would be a lot more slower. So this is Space Invaders. Just kind of give you an idea about what the first generation would have looked like. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Now, this is on the Atari 2600. This would have been Generation 2 games. So I'm not going to play it. Anyways, yeah. So, this is what gaming on the Magnavox would have looked like. This is actually kind of what it would have looked like. Is this here, and then for the Magnavox Odyssey 2, you would have seen something that looked like this. Kind of like that. And then Calico Telstar, I've already shown pictures of this. So this is actually Generation 1 console gaming right here. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Third for the second says, "Hello, my good sir. First gen consoles were interesting for the time." Yeah, I know. Well, they didn't have anything to work with. It was like, we're just basically starting from the beginning. Electronical interactive games or interactive electronic gameplay has been around since the 1940s. Certainly the early 1950s. With like interactive teleprompting telecom gaming or telecom prompting interactive game modulator simulators have been around since the 1950s, but it was not until the mid-1970s when they started to get real popular. Let's see here. Third Force says that command line is woke. Third Force says Pong was good for the time. Well, I mean, it was basically it was also the first video game that also got hacked or got cracked and was massively sold everywhere. There was like 4,000, there was like 40,000 something different Pong knockoffs, which is crazy. It was really popular in Asia, in East Asia too. Let's see here. Pong was good for the time in 1973. Third Force says MMO Pong would be cool. CPUSI Shazy Time says, "Hey guys, I have created an international friends group. Let me know if you want to add." What would this have anything to do with the subject in this stream? What would that have anything at all to do with the subject in this stream? Like, okay, let's see here. Shazy Time said hi. Third for the second says CPUS has a chip, didn't really exist till the late 70s. Yeah, that's true. Stefan Sharko says, can you rub my back with some olive oil, brother? That is very gay, Stefan Sharko. That is extremely gay and homosexual, and you need to come to God and repent of your sins, my guy. Third for the second, Atari was a pretty big upgrade from Pong. Yeah, it had color, much more better pixelation, and sound. Like, Pong has none of that stuff. No, I don't want to do that. Bobby Conley said, hi, Stefan Shorko, sup, Bobby. Justice for Gamers, Ultima was the world's first CRPG. Yeah, but the thing about Ultima Third 4 is that that's a computer game. This is console or video games. PC games and console games were not regarded as the same thing. But yes, computer or PC games are about as old as video games and arcade games. Play Zork. Let's see here. Zork is Generation 2, Third 4. This is Generation 1. Stefan Shorko, what's cracking bracking? Stefan Sharko, I want honey. You're very gay, Stefan. I don't know if I really want you in my chat. Let's see here. Third 4 says, justice for every gamer, interdimensional lizard. I hope they didn't claim that Sonic was Japanese. This is about Gen 1 console games. Third 4 says, gamers need to rise against our oppressors and get to gaming revealed. All right, so chat was extremely lax today. So I've been your host, Imperator of Forge. Pac-Man and Space Invaders were arcade games. They were not console games, actually. And so this has been my playthrough of Generation 1 games. It's not going to look like much because, well, it's Generation 1. It's from 1972 to 1977. That's first generation games. The only entire generation of games to be only in the 1970s, by the way, and the only generation of video games before the 1980s. So next time, I'll do Generation 2. That's the Atari 2600. And those kind of sorted games. Actually, Magnavox Odyssey 2 is probably Gen 2. And the Atari 2600, when it blew up, it completely overtook the Magnavox Odyssey 2. The Magnavox Odyssey 2 was unsuccessful because of the success of the Atari 2600. I know, it's confusing. You know, what is the Magnavox Odyssey? What is Teleco Telstar? You know, what is all this stuff? Well, there was like 5 different home video game consoles. 5 or 6 different home video game consoles before the Atari 2600. The Atari 2600 was the first home game console that was a big success, that blew up on the market. But there was like 7 or 8 home gaming consoles before the Atari 2600. So anyways, I'm your host, Imperator of Forge. Thank you for watching. Forge Gang! I am still a hard man! Stay hard!